Hi guys, I'm Dr. Jenny White, a dentist in Sarasota, Florida, and her fearless patient Susan with our podcast, Open Wide, Unfiltered Opinions between a dentist and her patient. Over the past 25 years or so, I've been sitting in a little room talking to myself all day, and I've gained a lot of wisdom through that process, which I want to share with you. We hope our podcast casts optimism and fearlessness to you so you can rise to the top, stay at the top, and dream bigger than you've ever imagined. So on today's Soup du Jour, we have an amazing guest, Dr. Winnie Lee. Susan, take it away.
It's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Winnie Lee to today's podcast. Let me read her very impressive bio before we get into our million questions. After graduating from Cornell University as a Howard Hughes Scholar, she attended West Virginia University School of Medicine and completed her general surgery residency at Tufts New England Medical Center. She finished her cardiothoracic surgery residency at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, including a summer in London at the Grand Ormond Street Hospital for Sick Children for congenital heart surgery. After a successful career in thoracic surgery, she then pursued her passion for creating natural beauty by completing her fellowship in cosmetic surgery with Dr. Alberico Sessa in Sarasota. Dr. Lee loved the community, so she decided to move her LA practice to Sarasota and join Sarasota Surgical Arts. Outside of her practice, she's a concert violinist, having performed in the Lincoln Hall Alice Tully Hall in New York City, and has been a teacher of the Suzuki method for children. She's also a mountaineer, having climbed Mount Kilimanjaro and Mount Kinabalu, while also enjoying nature hikes and all aspects of the outdoors. Her many interests include global travel, arts, sports, marathons, triathlons, and she's done a half Ironman, and she's in the process of writing an interactive ebook for children. She looks forward to adding more value to her list of accomplishments here in her new home in Florida. And of the many things that are listed here, what she doesn't say is that she's also a stand-up comedian, which we want to talk more about today. Please join me, a happy Dr. Lee patient and a Dr. Sessa patient, and Dr. Jenny White, also from West Virginia University, and welcoming Dr. Winnie Lee to our podcast. So do you two have like a West Virginia handshake or a song that you need to sing or something at this point?
Yes, it goes like this.
Right, we forgot the banjos. Dr. Winnie, we're so excited to have you here today. We have a bazillion questions. Let's start with, I know you were born in Taiwan. You weren't born in Taiwan. Okay, tell us your background.
Well, it's very nice to be here with you guys today. When you said you had an amazing guest, I was like, oh, good. Who's that? Let's see. My parents were born in Taiwan and they're immigrants. I was born in the States. And since then, they were both professors. So we've moved a lot. And I'm kind of almost like a military brat without the military part. So lived in Singapore when I was born, after I was born, and moved all across the United States. I've been in New York City. I've been in the Midwest, and I have most recently been in LA. And then now I am in Sarasota.
Well, we're super happy to have you here. I'm just so struck by this list of accomplishments, and I know that we haven't even touched on all of them. But you don't even look old enough to have all of these accomplishments. Tell us about growing up with Asian parents. Was that an expectation that you would be an achiever or an overachiever because of the sort of Asian influence? Did that have anything to do with your upbringing?
Yeah, I think sometimes stereotypes exist for a reason. I had pretty strict parents and expectations. I mean, all the accomplishments that I've had probably do arise from being raised a certain way, right? And then what you do is you end up, that becomes a narrative in your own head, right? For all of us, it's the voice in your head now.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love to say that these things are accomplishments. My dad would say what accomplishments?
These are things that just need to be done. You're expected to climb Kilimanjaro. Just go climb Kilimanjaro.
Oh, no. So there's also the aspect of not telling your parents what you've done until after you've done it. Okay. There's also, just like there's Asian parent pricing. You know, you get a car, my dad will instantly ask me how much was that car, and I'll be like, I got like 80% off.
Yeah.
You
That
know,
made him happy.
parent pricing.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, because I know what happens if you tell them the truth. Could have negotiated a better price.
Right.
There's
right.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Winnie, have you always wanted to be a doctor? Why did you go into the field? Why? What was it? Early on, like, how did you know?
I'm not sure that I could say that I knew. I think part of it, I wanted actually to be a musician, and didn't realize that that wasn't on the table after being pushed. I went into it on my own at the age of 4, and then my parents pushed me. It's one of those, if you're going to do it, then you have to be the best.
Yeah.
Because no one remembers number 2, right? That kind of thing. And then once I got to that point and I wanted to do it for a living, then Juilliard was snatched away from me. So then it was, oh, by the way, you can't do that anymore. Which, that ended up getting easily reconciled in my head because it's something that I can do anyway, in addition to whatever I pursue. Medicine, we have a lot of doctors in our family, and I think the last count is still over 20 right now. So there was a little bit of that expectation. There's that Asian stereotype. You can be one of 4 things, and doctor's one of them. Lawyer, accountant,
Professor,
engineer.
probably,
Yeah.
since that's what your parents were. Yeah.
Oh, they didn't want that either. But they all every parent wants their kids to have something more, right? And so I don't think it came from a malicious standpoint. I think it all came from love. Give your child enough tools, I guess, in the belt so that they can go out and do whatever it is that they want to do. But so there is that expectation. To me, I think the critical moment was when I was 12, and we were talking about this earlier, Sue. When I was 12, my mom said, you only have a certain amount of time in life to do everything that you want to do. And it struck me because I started making a list at 12, like, I don't think I have enough time. So I started very early doing those things. So when people called it a bucket list, I thought it was interesting because when I was young, I was like, I already started doing that stuff because only out of fear of not being able to do it, running out of time, So that was just me. That was just me going after stuff, and I, was lucky enough to have parents who supported some of it, and then I kind of finagled my way into doing other stuff that they maybe not so supportive of, So.
We're super similar in that regard. My parents were Sicilian and German background. I was basically told you need to be financially self-sufficient and never depend on a man for money. So your options are dentist or doctor. Take a pick. And so, I just followed along. And of course, the excelling. When you said you have to be number 1 because nobody remembers number 2, amen. I was raised exactly the same. So it sort of brought on that perfectionistic, thing for me that I've kind of had to mitigate over the years.
Yeah.
And I also relate to what you said about doing things that your parents didn't know about. Yes, kids do that in general, but I think with the strict upbringing that you had and I had, we really had to do that. And I'll even catch myself today. If somebody asks me, how much did you spend on that car? It was 80% off. I still do it today, but there's no need for me to do it. No, you're like I'm on my own 2 feet, but I'm still doing it. Do you do that?
No, when I'm saying this like I said this as a child. I said this like last week. Okay.
Yeah.
My mom asked me about different things, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was like $3. Nothing is $3. Okay.
Oh, that's funny. So,
Yeah.
do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have a younger
brother. Were they
brother.
set to the same standards, or was gender a role in all of this too?
Yeah, I mean it's very stereotypical in that way. And my parents are immigrants, so I feel like when you're dealing with immigrant parents, it's almost being like 2 generations ago if you're in the U.S. because it's a different country, and then it's also a generation ago. So yes, my brother could do no wrong, and I honestly grew up like a little boy. And I don't know if there's a psychology behind that. I'm sure if I deep dove into that, it would not be pretty. But yeah, I grew up as a total tomboy. I played sports. I know more about sports than probably most men, sadly, which is not good for dating, just FYI. It's a terrible thing. But yeah, I hear you 100%. And I think it creates this weird dichotomy where your personal life is run so different than your professional life. Like your professional life probably rocks, right? But your personal life, when you look at it, you're like, why does this not translate? Yeah.
Yeah, I relate to everything you just said. I was my father's best little boy.
Yeah.
And I have a brother. He was the golden child.
Older or younger?
Older.
Okay.
But you know what? Looking back at it, my parents gave 100,000,000% to doing the best they could with us. They
Yes.
wanted the best for us. But we have these weird little nuances of, I was a tomboy. I wore tough skins. I played sports. I climbed trees. I got a baby tooth knocked out when I flipped over the handlebars of a bike. I mean, I was just that rough and tumble little boy. But again, all out of love. So
Yes, it's
yeah.
all out of love. And I think it's also generational. Like, I don't know, there's definitely like this concept of generational trauma. It's the way they were raised. And so how can I even blame them for anything other than being the best parents that they could be? And quite honestly, for all the things that they did and how difficult it was, it made me this person that I am today. And honestly, I feel like nothing bothers me, because when you go through that, it's like, just bring it on.
Right.
What's the hard in this,
Yeah.
So it toughens you in the right way, hopefully. I mean, that's what my parents probably prayed for, right? It probably toughens you in other ways too that are not. There's always a balance of good and bad, right?
Yep. And I'm thankful that they had you, because here you are on the Open Wide podcast.
I'm going to tell them that's why they had me.
Right. Yeah. How did you choose your specialty? Like, how did you choose to get into heart surgery first? Like,
I fell in love with, I don't know if this is the case. You can talk about this too in dentistry, where you decide where you want to go with your life. And you, as a med student, you kind of do all these different rotations through a sundry of different specialties. And I just remember I loved everything. I'm one of those people. I love everything. I like talking to every kind of person. I was like that in high school, middle school. I had, different friends from different groups, right? And they didn't necessarily get along, but I got along with everyone else. But when it came to this, I think a lot of it has to do with the people that were there at the time that you were rotating through, like
okay.
birds of a feather, right? So if you can genuinely like the content, which I loved, but I'm, again, one of those people where I can find something in everything to love, but it was the people that I connected with. And so I liked the idea of, I loved it because we just so happened to get these exciting surgical cases when I was on that rotation. I mean, and the people that were doing these emergencies, I looked up at them you're talking about your early mid-20s, and you're looking at them and they seem like heroes to you, And so I think I just loved the way they gave their time to me, because I was so interested in how much time I put into it and what I got to see. I just said, this is what I have to do.
And then you were there did that for how many years before you made another significant change?
So I did that for over 15 years. And then I realized that doing that, you sacrifice certain things in your life. So I never got married. I didn't have kids because I just didn't have time.
Right.
And it so happens to be a gender issue. And I'm not a man hater by any means, but I do think that if you go out and you're a man, you say, I'm a cardiac surgeon, people flock. If you're a woman, you say a cardiac surgeon. It's like turning on the lights to cockroaches. They all scatter.
Oh my gosh.
Great
really?
visual.
Yeah.
Great visual there.
Yeah. So when I would go out, people ask me what I do. I'd be like, I work at a hospital. Yeah.
So then what was the decision to switch to cosmetic surgery then? How did that come about?
Well, I always had a love for the arts, as you can see, like the creative side of me. I've always had to do that kind of on the outside of work, even though I took great care in making things look pretty in the operating room. there's only so much you can do when you're an open heart surgeon, right? To make things look pretty. But I actually had a following of people who liked the fact that I made a very low incision, et cetera, et cetera. And I actually really enjoyed plastic surgery even when I was a resident in general surgery. It, again, timing, the chief of that department at the time wasn't the easiest human being to get along with, and other personality things that kind of turned me off. But I loved the content. Just like I tell a lot of people nowadays, your day-to-day happiness is probably not as much of what you do, but who you're working with on a day-to-day basis. That's what ends up determining your day-to-day happiness, right? You can love what you do, but we all have someone at work where we're going, oh my God, okay, that person again,
Yeah.
So for me, I always had to do it stand up. I had to do it in my personal life. Writing short films, I did in my personal life, and all these other things, music, all that stuff had to be done in my personal life. And finally, I thought, here's my opportunity to make a big pivot, which is hard to do when you get to a certain age because you become risk averse, right? And time is of essence. So I thought, okay, I'd like to connect the two, where I can blend kind of the science that I have, the skill set that I have, and learn something creative. Because I do think that this is, cosmetic surgery or aesthetic surgery should be a blend of both science and art, right?
It's so amazing that as you're talking, I'm just seeing my life, like the dental office, even though it's not a hospital. If you don't love the people that are in there, it affects you every day. Like you've got to really develop that team, that it's a family, it's a home away from home. And when you give 9,000% of yourself to your work, which you have to, being a cardiac surgeon, you don't have time for the social life. You don't have time for this and that. And having children during that chaos, that's a lot to ask. I know people do it, but that's a lot to ask. I, too, did not have children because that little dental office is my child. It's what I gave everything to. So I just resonate with everything you're saying on a tooth level, not a heart level.
It's the same thing.
Not a tummy tuck level, a tooth level.
No, it's the same thing though, and I'm so glad that we can connect on that point, because it's, unless you're living it, it's really hard to understand what it feels like to give your life to something that is not a child, and that honestly eventually will have an expiration date. So you have to find other ways to fulfill yourself, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about when we were talking earlier, Susan, about the whole, when people would say, oh, take care of yourself, practice wellness. Ugh. What does that mean? Okay.
Could you give me a little more?
I was like, I feel you're being a little specific. Could you be more general?
Captain Obvious.
What does that mean? What does that mean? So we talked about this, and what it means, I think, is even hard for people to define for themselves. What was going to be fulfilling to you? I actually have a film storyboarded on this that touches on this. Could you script what that means for yourself to be fulfilled? Not what's going to make you happy. Happy can be fleeting, right? You have the drink of the podcast. It'll make you happy for a little bit, but is it fulfilling? Now, maybe Susan's drinks are pretty fulfilling. I will give you that. But
I gotta say, Susan is a master barista. Just give her 5 minutes, and she will fulfill your cup and make you happy.
There you go.
But no, I get what you're saying.
Right? Yeah.
And another thing I find interesting about this career path, since we're talking about that, is you go from literally being in someone's chest, touching their heart, literally and figuratively, to now into a world where you're helping them feel beautiful about themselves with what you do. I don't know if you can give more to a human being other than resurrect their heart and now help them on the outside, kind of what you did on the inside.
Well, and I think those two
that's fulfillment.
And that should
me.
be alignment, right? There should be an alignment. So my favorite things to do cosmetically are taking something that someone feels withdrawn about, lose confidence over,
Embarrassed.
any of these things, and actually restore that. You know, it's not, so I tell people it's not always about enhancement, it's about restoration. And with restoration comes some freedom because you stop thinking about it. You stop arranging every little thing in your day to cover it. You know, like people will, from the moment someone says, oh, let's go to the beach, I can see some people, what am I going to wear? Am I gonna? Oh, I'm very self conscious about this. So I got to wear this. I got to make sure I bring this. And I won't go in the water. So it becomes this mental exercise of all the things that they're gonna do because of one thing that they feel self conscious about. So I tell people it's just to match your insides with your outsides. Or your
What's the
outsides
most
with your
common procedure that you do in your practice?
insides. Well, I've been here I've joined in January, so I would say there's a lot of face, breast, and then tummy tuck type, abdominal stuff. So body work it's all very popular, to be honest with you. But I like nowadays, and we've been dealing with this since the gastric bypass era, where people were losing massive amounts of weight. So now that's kind of been slightly replaced by these injectables where people have massive weight loss. And I love that population of people because, number one, they were self-conscious about their weight to begin with. And then they lost all the weight. And now they're feeling self-conscious about the loose skin that they have. And they feel like, I get the same complaint. I'm so happy I lost the weight, but I still am not confident because I feel like a Shar-Pei, that kind of thing. So that's my favorite because I finally can do, they finally are the size they want to be. And then we just have to nip tuck some of the excess skin and things that happen with massive weight loss. And it happens in everyone, whether it's an injectable or not. So this whole idea of Ozempic face is silly because it's just with anyone who has massive weight loss. It's just nice to finally get them to the place where they always wanted to be from the get-go. So yeah, that's my most favorite patient. You can see them change, literally.
I'm sitting over here and I'm thinking to myself, you're taking requests from people to get them restored back to a starting point that they're comfortable with. Is there ever a situation where they want to go too far and you're not comfortable with it and you pull the reins back and say, whoa, Bessie? And the other thing is talk about the psychology of what you do, because that is a whole nother 9 podcasts.
Yeah, I don't even know how many podcasts that would be. Well, so I think that probably anyone who's doing in any space, whether you're a dentist or pediatrician or what I do, I think there's always some psychology that comes into play, right? But yeah, my job is not to judge what someone wants to look like, because it's not my aesthetic necessarily, but I have to put up guardrails too. There are times where doing something, for example, too much lip filler, right? There is a point at which it actually can threaten the health of your lips. The skin can actually get too thin. It can even become necrosed or die, So I do have to put up guardrails. Now, when it comes to aesthetic choices, and they may be at slight odds with my own, for example, these women who want really large BBLs or booties, like fat transfers into the butt. I'm not so sure that I'm crazy about this giant butt look. So I do have to sometimes, if that's what I'm faced with, I have to politely just say, I may not be the right fit for you, in terms of aesthetic. I don't judge it. There's always going to be someone who's going to be willing to do something like that. Here's where I think it should go that would fit your body. It's, that kind of thing. It's hard to deliver something that's purely on trend because I feel like, is it our job to kind of, create some guardrails? This is a trend. It may go away. Some people might judge, well, and when it goes away, they can correct it again. So there can be controversy over this. But just from my own, standpoint, I feel like when we do these things, we make 1,000 little micro decisions in someone's behalf, right?
Yeah.
And if your goals aren't aligned or your aesthetics are wildly different, you're going to make the wrong micro decisions for people. And so I try not to say that's the wrong thing to do, but I may not be the right fit.
You have to have your boundaries regardless of what's presented, and the patient's choice is the patient's choice.
Exactly.
What's new and exciting in your field that we should be aware of?
New and exciting. I do think that there are different approaches to doing things. I would say, well, there's been a few things that have come along. Again, in the last 5 years, I think the biggest thing that has come, and it's not necessarily surgery, is these injectables, right? The for weight loss that were all designed initially and still are designed for non-insulin dependent diabetics. I think that's just in the field of weight loss is huge, right? But in terms of plastic surgery, I think one of the biggest misnomers is when people think about facelifts. If you are over the age of, say, 40, definitely over the age of 50, you are thinking facelifts means this like wind tunnel look where people look awful and just pulled back, you know? Yeah. And that is just not the way we do facelifts anymore. Now, we understand that they have to be done in a vertical plane as much as they are a little bit more horizontal, but not as much as they were in the 80s, where people look like they were permanently in a wind tunnel. So it's a very much more natural restoration. Doing the deep plane is also, it's the internal girdle of the face. That's also really important to make sure that people are doing that and not just pulling skin. I think that when it comes to other things, something brand new that's coming down the pike is cadaveric fat for fat grafting. That's something that's coming down the pike. I love.
What is that? Cadaveric fat?
So they're literally taking fat from cadavers.
Oh,
and using it as filler. I will say I like doing autograft. Your own fat, processing it, especially from certain areas of the body where we can preserve your stem cells and put them in very key areas. I am not a fan of the pillow face, so I do not like overfilling. I like to restore volume rather than enhance, unless, of course, you are deficient in something, right? So then I feel like we can enhance a bit just because you are already deficient. But I love it because it actually, the stem cells help remodel the skin. And so it's an overall better than filler in my opinion. I think filler is great to try it out, so here's what it would look like if we put some volume in this location. If you love it, then I would suggest the next time you need something and this filler is kind of resorbed, we use your own fat.
I was going to say, I've got enough fat to fill anything that I need. You don't need to go to a dead body for that. For me, I've got a stockpile over here.
Right, I could loan some too.
And who knew I had a girdle in my face? Yeah. Susan, did you know you had a girdle?
No, I did not.
I have a girdle in my face.
Yeah. But I have a question about beef tallow, which seems to be the latest fads. Yeah. What's your thought on that?
I think that I'm very data driven when it comes to all these things. I think especially in the whole realm of this wellness, so supplements and NAD and all these things that we're doing. I think that unfortunately there's not a lot of good science behind it. Yes, you might be able to find a study that's done or a handful of studies that's done that shows that it's good. You will find the equivalent number of studies that show that it doesn't make a damn bit of difference. Mm-hmm. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you're over the age of 18, so you're allowed.
Oh, is that the rule?
Let her rip. I don't know.
I'm just going to probably get bleeped out. I think Carly will bleep me out too much if I do too much of that. Yeah. But no. So beef tallow I think is great. I think it just depends on your skin type. Beef tallow is not going to work well on all skin types. If you do have a dry if you have sebaceous type skin, so it's kind of oily, it's a thicker skin. I have sebaceous, you have sebaceous skin type. Not so much, but that's okay. You don't have to have it's nothing better about sebaceous. I don't want you to feel like I'm picking on you.
Don't mind us. We're getting consultations here during the podcast.
Free
consults right now.
But you might be combo skin, Susan. So,
I am combo, yeah.
So I would say certain areas that are dry, try it. I've tried some on on my hand. But remember, all these supplements, the whole supplement world, vitamins, supplements, all these things are not regulated by the FDA. Now, that's not to say that that means they're trash, but there are plenty of studies where if you actually look at, say, let's see, what's a big popular one? People who want to take berberine or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I bet if you studied every berberine that's on the shelf, one of them is going to be placebo. There's nothing in it
Interesting.
because it's not regulated.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So even vitamins, you have to have, somewhat of a faith in it that people are not going to cheat you out of vitamins. But all these other things like saw palmetto and things like that, it's just not regulated. It's hard to know what you're really taking. So I like everything in form, in nature, Mother Nature form.
Yeah.
So if you're going to take bromelain for bruising, eat pineapple. And if you can stand to eat the core, eat the core, or cold press the core. And,
Yeah.
and that's the best bromelain you'll have, right? Things like that.
Mother Nature always wins.
Yeah, Mother Nature does it better.
Can I shift this a little bit to, I want to get into the stand-up comedy.
Okay, yeah,
side
let's do
of
that.
this. I mean, I want to, what is going on here? How do you just wake up one day and say, here I come, stand-up comedy?
So I was also an English major in college. So part of it is that I enjoy the writing, the creativity behind it. It turns out that I got my dad's sense of humor, which, at first sight may not be the best thing, but he actually was extremely funny in his moments. But, my friends kept saying that when I was growing up, you should go do stand-up comedy. You should do stand-up comedy. And so when I landed in LA, I thought, well, this is a perfect venue. So I started, I took this writing class through a guy who actually was in the era of Jerry Seinfeld when they were all getting popular in New York City. Very talented guy. And so I don't know that he really teaches you how to write about it, but he teaches you how to think about comedy, how to be very economical. Because delivering a joke, you really don't want too much fat on it, right? So I did that, and then I ended up at Hollywood Improv, and I hid the fact that I was a doctor because I didn't want that to be out there. And I felt a little bit mixed feelings, is this proper for me to do? And I was like, oh, but this is something I want to do. So no one knew that I was a doctor doing this. So I did it at Hollywood Improv, and the people at the Comedy Store, I guess there were scouts there and things like that. So then they asked me to go to the Comedy Store and perform on Friday nights. Well, it's hard to do surgery and get to the Comedy Store, which is on Sunset in LA, on a Friday night. And so I would
Let me just change out of these scrubs and get the blood off of me, and I'll be right there. Oh.
So I didn't take the blood off, but anyway. So,
Yeah.
No, so I would not be able to do every Friday night, and so and I think there was the reason I think that Vern, who was the guy at the time who kept asking me to come back, he's like he didn't realize, because he didn't know what I did, that I didn't pay my bills with it. So he would call me and say, "Did you get my email?" And I'm like, Vern, are you aware of text? I don't. Are you psychotic? No one's checking their email that much,
It's like a fax.
Yeah. It's like, you could have sent me smoke signals before that. But anyway, he would say, we have TV and film scouts here tonight. Are you going to do your set from last week? I was like, I'm kind of working on some new stuff. And he's like, is it tested? I'm like, well, I'm here. I'm trying to test it here. He's like, but there are film and TV people here today. And I was like, yeah, I heard that.
like Vern says, I got $100 here waiting for you, and you're like, yeah. Okay.
I got a whole shiny 50 for you.
I gotta.
I was like, yeah. Do you want me to read your email again? I was like,
So
or
are
for
you
the first time?
you still doing it, and
I
how do you
have-
stay balanced in general?
Susan, that's its own podcast, How to Stay Balanced.
I think we'll have to have you back for sure. Yeah,
yeah.
we got still a million more questions.
I think I do write. So I have a folder full of ideas that just occur to me, when I'm driving, when I'm doing anything. I find almost everything, there's a piece of me that finds everything hysterical, where people Like even my phone in the phone case, it drives me crazy. We buy this $1,200 phone, and why is the case not the case? Like, why do we buy a $20 or $50 case to protect our $1,200 phone when the case, I'd be happy to pay $1,250 if the phone could just be its own case. Why not?
You have a good case there. Sorry. So I have a quick question before we hop off of comedy and go into the balance part. Do you think kind of training your brain for stand-up has helped with interpersonal communication in your personal life? I mean, I'm sure your work life, at least I'm speaking for me, it's rock solid. But being able to take that convo, as they say in today's day and age, and streamline it as a stand-up comedian does, did that help you at all in your personal life or in any way?
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps probably in all aspects of your life, right? To have a sense of humor. I mean, that will translate even in your work life. If you have a difficult conversation with someone, sometimes humor does help to break some of that tension. I think if someone's nervous to meet me for whatever reason, or they're feeling a little bit self-conscious about what they're there for, I think sometimes humor about yourself, throwing yourself kind of under the bus, I have no problems doing that. I am far from perfect. And so I think if someone sees a little bit of humor, levity, whatever it is that you want to use to kind of help soften the moment, help someone understand that you're not this rigid human, I think that's going to help. And I think that's in my personal life. Yeah. That's a whole nother podcast. I think humor for me is great. I want someone with a sense of humor. I think I have to be, because otherwise, I don't know if you've ever been in this situation. My brother's always like, "You're kind of the funny one in the relationship," and so I feel like, yeah, yeah. I'd love to have someone who's equally, or obviously someone who appreciates comedy or something uniquely funny.
Yeah, I feel you either wake up with the optimism or you don't. And you gotta kind of fight for it at times throughout your life. You gotta fight to wake up with that optimism / find the hilarity in whatever. But back to Susan, and I think we were going on the balance topic.
Yeah, do we have time? I've lost all track of time. Do we have time to get on to more questions, or should we have Dr. Winnie back?
Well, we definitely need Dr. Winnie back, but could we just finish the balance thing?
Yeah.
Like don't leave me hanging.
Yeah. So on your day-to-day, as you think about your week, what do you do? I know that you like to run. Do you get out of work and do a half marathon, or
actually
climb another Kilimanjaro? What are we doing?
Actually, so I have done all sorts of stuff to learn how to do certain things, like ride motorcycles, all these other things, because it's just one of those where I was like, I want to learn to do that. I'm going to do that, And so I've been doing jujitsu. I was doing that 3 or 4 days a week. I'm taking a little break though. I've taken about a week and a half off because I can't. I got to protect my hands, and I kind of jammed a finger. It wasn't bad. I mean, it gave me pause. Where I was like, I have to be careful about this. But I think to answer your question about balance, I think it's not what I'm doing. It's the fact that you have to acknowledge that you need balance, and then you have to make time for it, because it's so easy for time to run away, as we can see in this podcast, right? We could talk all day if we wanted to. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I'd have to bring an overnight bag.
I'm not sure everyone want to hear everything we have to say, but we'd have a lot of fun talking about
That's for sure.
But maybe I think someone would go to prison, but it'd be okay.
But I do think if I had to impart something on the audience, whoever's listening, I think if you have a moment where you're saying to yourself, I always wanted to do this, I always wanted to learn this, and think about the things in your past that are memorable, that they're going to be those great moments, but the things that you remember are also the opportunities that you didn't take, right? The regrets that we have. Yeah. So don't live with that regret. If it's something that you always wanted to do, go do it. I still have this dream that I could go to the Olympics, because at my age, the only thing I could do now is archery. So I've been thinking about doing archery lately.
Oh, interesting.
You can do it. You can do it.
You
or
can
fencing.
Learn it.
Fencing would be good too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. For me, it
about-
would
what-
be archery, just
what
because.
about that curling? Like,
Oh, curling.
Yeah,
curling.
no. I have a dog. I do enough sweeping in my house. I don't need to do it on the ice. But yes.
Oh, you guys, in wrapping up this super podcast with Dr. Lee, please let our listeners know where they can find you in the event they want to take a peek into turning back the hands of time.
Oh, okay. Please visit our website at sarasotasurgicalarts.com, and we'd love to, hear from you, see you in consultation. It doesn't require anyone to do anything. It just requires that you come in and see if it's something that interests you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming in today, Dr. Lee. We'd love to have you back. Would you be willing to come back for some more podcasts with us?
Oh,
We
of
would love it.
course.
We learned a lot today.
I would love to be. I would be a regular for you guys. This
Okay,
is super fun.
perfect.
It's super fun. Yeah.
Woohoo!
Okay, fearless listeners, if you feel inspired and fired up to do more with your life after listening to Dr. Lee, please give this podcast a thumbs up and click on subscribe on our YouTube channel. Together, we are rising to the top, staying at the top, and looking darn good while we are up there. Thank you again, Dr. Lee.
Thank you for having me.
We thank you for listening and hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, please share this show with friends and family and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This way, you'll never miss weekly drops. Stay strong, dream big, and floss your teeth.